The issue is that as you work with various teams over time, certain habits ingrain themselves into cultures.
Yes.
One of them being, for example, that artists push forward and they don't necessarily reach out to check in at how fast they're going or even examine the detail level of the assets they're producing. I remember there's one famous story of there was a rock that was like a very decent looking rock. It wasn't anything particularly special, but it had something like 20,000 polys in this rock. And that just happened because someone hit generate a rock and then tossed it in the game. But the way that the Warcraft worked would be you would take an asset, it would then assess all the surfaces, and then create a pathing map. So there would be 20,000 different connections around the edge of this rock on the terrain, which then created effectively a black hole of AI pathing data, where it had to search too many ways to navigate a rock.
Yep.
This rock could have been 100 polys easily, right? But no one looked at it, and instead people just walked in like, hey, as soon as I load the barons, performance goes to nothing. And people are like, oh, that's really weird. It was because 20 of these rocks were dropped in randomly around the place.
Yes.
And it goes to someone like Scott, who is, a very systems level.
Yes.
And he's just like, what the fuck? What? Oh my goodness, Orgrimmar must be broken. There's 20,000 pathways here. And he's looking at Orgrimmar really intensely. Yeah. And then it turns out to be a rock.
Yeah.
And and this sense of frustration and all of this, looking at what he thinks is a big problem turns out to be a small, effectively stupid problem, right?
Yeah.
Because someone was careless when they created an art asset. And this repeats over and over with every generation of artists, because every person coming in learns a new set of lessons. Mm-hmm. And it creates a history of like, well, I'm here to clean up other people's messes.
In that one, some of the ones that I saw when I was there were there was a pet, a non-combat pet or battle pet, as we say now, Alex, and it was based on a raid boss. Well, the other thing about long-lived games is the tools and pipelines. There's a lot of arcane tribal knowledge around what to do and what not to do with this very sharp and rusty pair of scissors that you're just being told to run with. And so someone took a raid boss, like, would it not be the coolest thing if you had your own little one of these running around? And so what happened was and the way that engine works is you can just shrink things. Now, it still had all of the polys and animations that the raid boss had. And now everyone can take one alongside. And that was a nightmare. And then another one was there was someone doing some landscape work, and there was this little altar on this landscape. And they're like, look at that. And it wouldn't run. Or it was running in like a really weirdly awful, horrible way. And then it turns out, these little altars that they've put throughout the landscape, that's actually the top of a building. And they just took the whole building, pushed it underground, and like, there's the little steeple. Isn't that a cool altar? All over the place.
I feel like that's really basic, though. That's so basic.
It is basic, but this is at the heart, and this is at the heart of what I believe production is supposed to do. We are supposed to bring everyone together, because if we don't come together, if art and design and engineering don't come together, we will astound ourselves at the assumptions that will slip past us. Because and this is why it's so important, in my view, of game development, for the skills to work together. Because when you have to, as a given skill, when you have to work in a silo, you have to make certain assumptions around what the other people have to do their part. And we're a few decades into proving as humans making video games that when that happens, we can impress ourselves with how far off we can get.
Yeah. For example, I'll talk a little bit about that. The little Fel, was it the Fel Reaver? Was it Ragnaros?
I think it was the Fel Reaver. Yeah.
So I made the Fel Reaver, and that's why I love that Barry pulled that one out. The Fel Reaver was originally created to be a colossal monster that was only supposed to ever be one of inside Outlands, walking around in a giant patrol loop, such that when it stormed through an area, a large like bong sound would play to everyone in the zone to warn you it was coming, right? Like a train engine. Well, when they shrank it down, right, all of the impact sounds for the boom, 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 right, of each footstep still was there attached to the fell river. So they shrank it down. But developers, because you're in a social environment, you might have 6, 7 developers in a room, right? You turn off your audio because you don't want everyone else to hear the noise. So this tiny little fell reaver had all of the stompity, stompity, stompity sounds of the big fell reaver. But you would summon it up and it ran into town, and no one caught this until I think it was actually on the PTRs, right? And it was like, oh, hey, yeah, we're running around Orgrimmar, and there's just sonic chaos as there's 8 of these little guys running around, and you could not hear anything due to all the bongs playing.
And when you shrink something down, it's not like the audio is going to automatically shrink with it. So that must have been horrible.
Yep. And and the animations for the little feats, which was originally go chunk, chunk. So again, these loud footsteps were okay because they were rare, every few seconds apart. Now they were going, and so you just go bong, 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 bong.
Yep.
Sounds like people should wear headphones.
Well, then there's then this comes to the social aspect. Then people say, why are you listening to headphones and blocking all the people out who need to talk to you? And they tap people on the shoulder. And it's like talking to someone at the gym with the headphones on. Should you bother them? Should you not bother them?
Yeah.
When is it okay? Right.
I see.